High-impact agricultural techniques. Vermiculture, a real case.
Todo
It all began
comienza hace
16 years ago
16
studying
años,
agricultural engineering in the desk and the
estudiando
environments
ingeniería
of the
agrícola
university.
desde un pupitre en los ambientes de la universidad. Arturo Bolaños
Bolaños
comienza
starts
a
looking
buscar
for new ways,
nuevos
trying to
caminos,
understand his own life.
tratando de entender su propia vida. Finca La
Finca La
Casita,
Casita, Morales,
Morales,
Cauca,
Cauca.
Colombia. Dirigido y editado por el ingeniero Arturo Bolaños Chacon. Lombriabono is an organic fertilizer resulting from the transformation process of the organic matter through the Californian red worm. Obtaining a fertilizer with very good physical-chemical properties, which we are bringing to the city nurseries. We then went on to show the process with which we do vermiculture. For that we need a structure that can be done in any type of material.
Para ello necesitaríamos una estructura que puede ser en cualquier tipo de material.
Can be guano, can be loose bricks.
Puede ser ladrillos sueltos.
Can be in tables, can be in zinc sheet, can be in baskets. Any resource that is available on the farm can serve as an area. Or a means to make the vermiculture. These structures here at Finca La Casita we are doing in Guadua because we have a very large village wool. Now suddenly we show it and take advantage of this material. Later we will show the process of how the beds are made for the worms here at Finca La Casita. Well then, now let's show the procedure to do a square meter of vermiculture. Then, first we have the structure which is made in guano. Can be seen several drawers in guano hole. It is not necessary to open the guano. Time is wasted when opening it. We realized that it's much easier to build the worms' beds. The space you see here, we have divided it to a square meter and has 40 to 50 centimeters height. Because it divides to a square meter. Because if we have the area of a square meter, we can make a very simple calculation of how much fertilizer we will have at the end of the process, and also of how many seeds. In such a way that the day I needed to draw a drawer or several drawers. It just makes the relationship by 2 times 3 or by those who want, in order to calculate the total performance. Initially Don Jorge is the person who collaborates, was going to use costals, where the cattle concentrates come. Initially Don Jorge is the person who collaborates, was going to use costals, where the cattle concentrates come. We open them and they are ready to use them in the beds. Then Don Jorge will show you how the beds are with these coasts. This is not done in order not to leave the worms, but to not leave the compost, and I was locked. Because between guano and guano there are spaces are placed the coasts to prevent the compost from leaving. This way the compost is completely enclosed. At this moment the bed meets all the coasts arranged so that the compost is not lost. Now yes, the first thing we are going to do is place the seed, always first the seed. There are people who first place the food and then the seed. Not first is the seed and then the food.
Because between Guadua and Guadua there are spaces are placed the coasts to prevent the compost from leaving.
Because this drawer is going to feed once a week. Then first place the seed in the background and then feed, in the next week comes back and feeds into the next week, feeds and so on. Until the drawer is filled in 3 months or so. The seed is here more or less 20 kilos per square meter. It's the recommendation we make to people, 20 kilograms per square meter. More seed can be placed, but a cost is being incurred and the performance is not going to be exactly proportional. It could also put less seed, but it's going to take a lot longer to be able to digest the material that is put. And at the end you will get less amount of compost. We already in the experience we have already been consolidating and standardizing. And we recommend people to use 20 kilos of seed of good density per square meter. Well, let's have the 20 kilos of earthworm seed. So we do the emptying of the 20 kilos of seed. Look here, we have the seed. I don't know if you can see well. We go watering the seed in the area of the square meter.
La vamos regando en el área del metro cuadrado. Es apenas una medida suficiente para un metro cuadrado. Miren cómo
see how it is distributed evenly.
De forma homogénea. Vemos la cantidad de semilla que se encuentra.
You can see the seed of good density.
De buena densidad. Listo. Sencillo.
Simple, very easy, not delay longer is something very practical.
Tiempo es algo muy práctico, muy fácil. Ahora, ¿qué sigue? Un momentito. ¿La saco?
Look at earthworm seed working. Free.
Semilla trabajando. Gratis. Bueno, muy bien.
Good.
Entonces,
then ready the seed. Remember, in a square meter of area, with any kind of structure, material, in this case biodiesel, we had 20 kilos of good density earthworm seed. You've more or less seen it. The proportion when you pick it up. What a pretty worm look. There are people who sell in the cities worm seed, and there is a deception in this lens much to deceit. For example, there is a client over there who sells 400 worms for $10,000, but it turns out that talking about 400 worms is a very complicated thing. Because they actually had worms since they hatch, and they have 2 to 3 millimeters until it is adult. To count 400 worms, I really do not agree with that form. I think a good seed must have eggs, must have a teen worm, must have adult worm, must have all the life stages of the seed. That way it's hailing from what a good seed is. That it's going to play fast and it's going to have an optimal process. Then, ideally, it is rather, to speak not in terms of how many worms are per kilo when they go to buy, no, the ideal is that I will obtain, in results, in yields, with that quantity of seed. With that kilo, and I find it much more accurate to tell people and orient it towards a reality, towards a punctual thing. Not that it has 1538 worms in a kilo. That tells that person, what will it have? You don't know. Then the way we can best do for people is to tell you, with these 20 kilos, you're going to get in a certain time. That way, people are already aware where to go if it goes below that or it did improve the process. Then, this process, we take it to 3 months. Because 3 months, everything has a reason to be. You don't do things because a book says 3 months. No. Are made because the experience has shown us that the seed in 3 months you have enough time to reproduce, generate their eggs, hatch to become a teenager, and become an adult. The whole cycle. More or less, from the worm. That way, we are giving the natural time that she requires, so that it can multiply without being disturbed, or be stressed. Because it is not stressing, simply, every 8 days, we are alimentándolas, we are giving your portion of food and she is quiet in that space. Then they are doing their natural process of decomposing, of eating the waste. Then in the end we will have in 3 months, approximately 100 to 120 kilos of good quality organic fertilizer. Result of, for example, of the estercols of cow and horse, as in this case, or of mixtures of manures with vegetal residues, which also can be used. Then we know that by square meter we will get in 3 months from 100 to 120 kilograms of manure. So you talk to the people you're going to get in 3 months. Or in 2 months or in a month or as long as we need. And that way people are more calm and can know where they are projected. Another thing you get at 3 months, we start with 20 kilos of seed, and as we have not done, say a stress to the worms, she will be able to multiply very easy. So that the 3 months we are going to get twice as much earthworm seed. I mean, 20 kilos. We would spend roughly 40 kilos of seed of the same density, so we could, after 3 months, make already 2 beds of square meter. Then it doubles the production of seed. What is source of protein for hens, for fish, for sell to neighbors or anyone. So they are beneficial byproducts, a source of protein for other organisms. 100 to 120 kilos of fertilizer, and the third product are leachates. In this momentico, we already said that we will feed every 8 days with 20 kilograms of manure. In this case, here Don Jorge is helping us. In this fall, there are approximately 20 kilos to feed this worms every 8 days. That's the way it's going to be done from now on. Let's count from today, 8 days. In 8 days, it has already eaten as manure that you see green in this momentico, and is transformed in a very loose compost, a nice texture. 8 days is delayed. At 8 days, we can add a bucket of 20 kilos.
A los 8 días volvemos a adicionar un balde de 20 kilos porque es la misma proporción que se utiliza de semilla.
Because the same proportion that is used of seed, 20 kilos, is the one that you use of food, 20 kilos. We distribute it and just cover it up. Let's cover, because the feeling of darkness is very important, so that there is a good work and performance of the worm. The worm should not be in direct light or direct rain to have a good process. The compost, then we will cover how you are seeing at this moment.
Entonces vamos a tapar,
to generate the feeling of darkness,
para generar la sensación de oscuridad,
in 8 days uncovered,
y en 8 días destapamos.
there is no problem.
No hay ningún problema, ella ahí no se va a ahogar.
She is not going to drown there.
Eso es todo el proceso. Dentro de 8 días destapamos, alimentamos con 20 kilos
That's the whole
y volvemos
process.
a tapar.
In 8
Así
days
durante
we
3
uncover.
meses. A los 3 meses ya se ha llenado el cajón. Entonces, pasados
Feed
los
with
8
20
días,
kilos and
vamos a
we
encontrar
cover again.
ese
So for 3 months, at 3 months, and have refilled the cajon. Then, after the 8 days, we will find what that manure, which we just saw, has been transformed into. This material, already here, takes about 8 days. So, look how the material is, more or less worked. soft texture, is loose compost, and silky, no longer smells of manure. The material is ready to be used in any type of cultivation, is the way the beds are left. And, if the drawer is full, I would play traps, which is what we are going to see consecutively. If not, is full the drawer, continues to feed. That's what I wanted to show you. Look at the color, piece black.
Pero realmente cuando él empieza a secar un poco se vuelve como café oscuro. Es como un color natural del abono.
But really when he starts to dry a little, it becomes like dark coffee. It is like the natural color of the compost, already processed, already worked. Well, then, once they pass the 3 months, to be feeding every 8 days the drawer, this is going to fill us. In this case, for example, already fulfilled its 3 months, is already full. So, right now, you have to mop up. We call it that, is to remove the worm from the drawer apart, so that the compost is only to get that compost and use it in the crops. Then we're going to use this mesh, which is achieved anywhere, in gallery, and we tend on top of the bed. Having uncovered the drawer, put the mesh over the 20 kilos of manure, cover it, and the worms will begin to pass. Then in 3 to 5 days, you lift the mesh, and they will see quantity of lombrices going to the trap. This trap is a venta and we pass it to a new or empty drawer. And we're still trapping here about 2 or 3 times more. That's the way the worm is removed. I'm going to show you here, as it is. Here's the trap, uncovered. We can see that on top of the trap is the manure. Then look at that, when you lift the mesh, we see all this amount of worms passing by. This is the density more or less that must be when you lift the mesh, good and hid, it hides very easy. But already saw something. This trap is placed in this way, is covered and in 3 or 4 days and must be full of worms, and with about 3 or 4 traps, the manure is taken out for the sifting area, and then we pack it. Well, once finished the process of trick, with the nets, which is put on top of the bed with 20 kilograms of manure, is mesh full of worms.
Ya posteriormente la empacamos. Bien, una vez terminado el proceso de trampeado con las mallas, que se coloca en cada malla 20 kilos, cada 3 o 4 días se levantan a un nuevo cajón. Ya más o menos a la 4ª trampeada ya queda el abono del cajón limpio, el lombriz
rises and is available in a new drawer. More or less to the 4th trampetta is already clean compost of worms out there, a 90% without worms. Then once free of earthworm is, we pass the compost to this area where we sift out the material in a zaranda of about 3 to 5 millimeters of hollow. In this zaranda would be a small percentage of earthworm and also garbage that comes from the cajones, like rocks and sticks.
Sin embargo, nosotros hoy en día estamos utilizando para mejorar un
Then the
poco
result
nuestro
after
producto
having
en el
shaken
mercado,
is this product. However, we, today, to improve a little our product in the market, we are applying phosphorite, huila and ash to make a mixture that improves the properties of vermicompost. This form we mix with shovel artisanally and we see this result of this material that already has phosphorite and ash. Then we will use for packing.
Entonces lo que vamos a hacer es utilizar nuestra marca Lombriabono, que es un
Packing
sólido
bag with our brand Lombriabono. Very artisanally, more or less. This bag is placed at 1200 grams each bag. What is an organic fertilizer with phosphorite and ash, and so is ready for sealing. This is something supremely practical, simple. Gather here with the worker, is put to the account of the day, laughs, thinks, solves situations, and meanwhile it is coming out here another bag that has a
ya quedaría esta bolsa lista para el sellado. Ese es todo el proceso que hacemos. Esto es algo supremamente práctico, sencillo.
Price, in the market of $2,000 to $3,000 of something that before in the market was a pedazo of dung that for the people of the common, for the farmers have no value. I am collecting it, from where it does not serve. It transformed it into a free process, practically, because the guado I have it, the worker, I have it, within the process concatenated, I have the worm seed, the worm does not charge me for being working, I have the
Yo lo estoy recogiendo de allá donde no sirve, lo transformo en un proceso gratuito prácticamente porque la guada la tengo.
This product, packed it, and so, this product is generating a profitability, much higher even than the milk itself.
Por estar trabajando, ya tengo este producto, lo empaco y me está generando una rentabilidad muy superior incluso que la propia leche de las vacas. Es decir, el estiércol me da más dinero.
I mean, milk gives me less than compost. Nobody believes that one of the nothing can make money. That seems to me something very cool because here people complain a lot. There are no forms of work when you have land and
tiene un animalito y uno puede ingeniársela. Eso es ingeniería para mí. Ingeniería no es asentar por allá en una oficina a echar números. Ingeniería es poder utilizar un recurso
and has the wit. That is engineering for me, is to use a resource to appropriate it and use it in such a way that generates a profitability. That's genius engineering, and this is bioengineering engineering.